Hello, everybody, and welcome into Four Down Territory, a Super Bowl edition. Super fired up for this one. I'm Kyle Madson, the managing editor at NinersWire.com, part of the USA Today Sports Media Group. With me, as always, Doug Farrar, the managing editor of TouchdownWire.com, live from Las Vegas, inside a casino hotel right now. Doug, and thank you so much for hanging out with me instead of hanging out on the casino floor. I respect your professionalism.
You can smell the menthol cigarettes and desperation from here.
Wait, is that me or the casino?
Well, both.
Oh, okay, perfect. All right, well, let's get into this. We have a 49ers Chiefs Super Bowl 58. It's a rematch of Super Bowl 54 down in Miami, which the Chiefs won 31-20. The 49ers looking to avenge that loss. So, Doug, my first question for you, first down here, what's the one thing that the San Francisco 49ers must do to win Super Bowl 58?
Must do. Get Brock Purdy in situations where he has easy reads and he can decipher coverage switches and throw with anticipation. It could be argued that the 49ers made it to the Super Bowl despite the fact that they were outplayed in the divisional round by the Packers and in the NFC Championship game by the Lions. Sorry, Niners fans, but it kind of happened that way. Purdy had a lot to do with that. He threw late a lot. He missed wide open receivers far too often, and his gifts for throwing his targets open were noticeably absent a lot of the time. Kyle Shanahan will need to start Purdy off with easy stuff to get him in the rhythm, and from there, Purdy may have a better read on what the Chiefs have in store for him from a coverage and pressure perspective. Not that it will be easy, you know this, Kyle, against the Chiefs defense that can throw the proverbial kick and sink at you with their defense. But, Spags will, all kinds of crazy stuff. But Shanahan needs to at least make it easier for Purdy in that regard. If he expects Purdy to wade through tight window throws against Spags' anarchic coverage switches and frequent time defense looks, it could be a very long Sunday for the guys in red and gold. The upside is, and I wrote an article about this today, Monday, Purdy is thermonuclear against the blitz this season. One of the best, 2 or 3 best quarterbacks in the NFL against the blitz, which is really not what you'd expect, but the numbers in the tape show up. So the other thing is, Purdy's ability to decipher the blitz versus Spags' ability to hide it and have it come from, because he doesn't really give you blitz keys. So it's going to be 3D chess. And I'm not saying dumb it down for Purdy, but Kyle Shanahan does need to give him, especially at the beginning of the game, because it was like 3/4 of blitz, and then Purdy would sort of turn it on, and that's kind of how they got to the Super Bowl. I don't think they can do that against the Chiefs. I don't think that's going to work. So that's kind of where I am.
Yeah, they got to be better than they were in the first 2 playoff games, because I don't think the Chiefs are coughing up a 17-point deficit.
No.
Or a 17-point lead. For the 49ers to win on Sunday, they need to tackle. This is kind of the beginning and end of it for
tackling
me.
Is important. I've heard that in football, tackling. It's what they call it, tackle football, by the way.
Yeah, thank you so much. You can read Doug's book. Doug, so they missed a whopping 150 tackles this season, and during their 3-game losing streak to the Browns and Vikings and Bengals, that was their biggest problem. You go back to Aaron Jones in the divisional round, they had a hard time tackling him. You go back to anybody who carried the football for the Lions, they had a hard time tackling them. And in 2019, this may not have been as big of a problem, but considering how much of what Kansas City does now is predicated less on that intermediate and deep passing game and more on short throws and throws behind the line of scrimmage.
And Isaiah Pacheco kicking your butt.
Well, yeah, and that's number one here. So Isaiah Pacheco is playing as well as any back in the league. Super shifty. He gets downhill. It's so rare that you see the first tackler get him on the ground, and that's why he's averaging almost 5 yards a carry and almost 400 career attempts. He's a really
like
good
somebody
player.
Owes him money.
Yeah, man, it's like a bear with brass knuckles. He's really, really hard to get down. So the 49ers are going to have to ensure they're rallying to the ball and keeping him to less than 5 yards a carry. And then the second thing is Mahomes lives at or behind the line of scrimmage this year. 63.1% of his throws came behind or within 9 yards of the line of scrimmage. He had 112 screen passes according to Pro Football Focus, and with a receiving corp that's really, really lacking, Mahomes started taking his checkdowns, throwing to running backs, hitting Travis Kelce on shorter routes like he always had. And then you rely on Andy Reid, who's going to design some sick-ass screen passes, and all of a sudden the Chiefs are creating explosive plays without having to push the ball down the field to Rashee Rice and Justin Watson and Marquez Valdez-Scantling and whoever. So if the 49ers can tackle It gives them a real chance to slow the Chiefs down the way Baltimore did. I thought that was something that Michael McDonald's unit did really, really well.
Yeah.
Was get the Chiefs on the ground right away. And if the 49ers can do that, I think they have a real shot to keep the Chiefs to 17-ish points. If they're not doing that, I don't know how they get any stops. So that's where it starts and ends for me.
Yeah, it's death by 1,000 paper cuts. And then one of the paper cuts, all of a sudden, you're just it's like Dan Aykroyd in the Julia Child sketch, where there's just blood everywhere. Kind of.
Yeah.
I don't know why I went there, but there you go.
If it's a Dan Aykroyd sketch, it probably goes over my head. So yep. I'm gonna smile and move on.
#old.
All right, so let's go to second down, where we'll jump over to the other sideline. What's the one thing the Kansas City Chiefs have got to do to win Super Bowl 58 and bag their third Super Bowl win in the last 5 years? That's crazy.
It is crazy. Limit the 49ers zone run game with Christian McCaffrey and occasionally Deebo Samuel. The 49ers with McCaffrey this season have led with inside and outside zone, and out of either zone or split zone, which is man/zone to either side. McCaffrey has led the NFL in carries, 234, yards, 1265, yards after contact, 755, and touchdowns, 15. That's pretty good. The Chiefs have faced the NFL's seventh most zone runs, 316. They've allowed 1,256 yards, 774 yards after contact, and 5 touchdowns. Spags is great at devising coverage and pressure, as we have discussed, but they're not a great run defense. And against the Ravens, even when they stacked the box, the Ravens ran on them and should have done it a lot more.
Yep.
We do not expect Kyle Shanahan to abandon the run game under any circumstances. He leads with the run. Factor in the motion the Niners use to displace defenses and establish blocking advantages. This would be a very tough task for Spags and his guys. It's kind of like that, what you said about the Chiefs passing game. McCaffrey might hit 3, 4, 6, 4, and that's 23, 38,
Yep.
And he's demolishing a safety for 50 yards, and it's all over.
Yeah.
So it's the run game, but it's really the zone run game. The inside, and especially outside zone, they love to just beat you up to the perimeter.
Yeah, and McCaffrey's so good at creating yards that aren't there.
No, yeah.
He takes so many runs that should go for nothing and turns them into 3 or 4 yards. And that's just, when you have Brock Purdy under center, 2nd and 6 is way different than 2nd and 9.
Yep.
So he's really valuable there, and I think that's got to be priority number 1 for the Chiefs for sure. I know this one fits basically every football game that's ever been played, but work with me here. If the Chiefs win on first down on both sides of the ball, I don't know how they lose.
Is that in your book?
Yeah, that was in my book.
Okay.
I'm writing all this down. I just look, the 49ers offensively, I don't think have the tools necessary to consistently convert 2nd and 3rd and long. Like
right.
that's kind of just it. That robs San Francisco of that rushing attack that you just talked about, and it turns Purdy into a straight drop back passer. And forget for a moment that he doesn't really have the physical tools to carve up a defense like that. The Niners also, for as good as their receiving core is, Brandon Ayuk's the only one that really gets consistent separation. Right. Deebo Samuel's never been a great separator. George Kittle has been in his time, but I mean he's 30 now, and that's not kind of a facet of his game that the Niners are going to lean on a ton. And Purdy's capable of converting 3rd and longs, but that's just not sustainable. We've seen that this season, that when the Niners are consistently there, they just don't have the offensive skill set to overcome it and start putting up a ton of points. So on top of that, it makes you play one-handed, and if you're doing that against Steve Spagnuolo, you're going to have a really hard time scoring points.
You're going to play no-handed.
Right. And then on the other hand, or on the other side of the ball, the Niners haven't been able to stop the run this year. And when they can key in on 2nd or 3rd and long, they're very, very good, and they look dominant. But when it's 2nd and short, go look at what Detroit did to them in the entire first half the other day.
Yep.
And frankly, a lot of the second half, if not for a few drop passes.
81 rushing yards in the first quarter, I believe.
Yeah, it was a joke. And I think the Chiefs actually have the capability of doing that. And if you're getting Patrick Mahomes with the ability to run play action or the ability to run really anything in the playbook out of 2nd or 3rd and short, the reason I bring this up is because this is the one way I see it really getting out of hand and the Chiefs like blowing San Francisco out.
Yep.
Is if they're winning on first down on both sides. I don't know how the Niners get stops, and I don't know how they score. They follow a pretty strict formula to winning.
Yep, I agree.
So, anyways, number 3, or 3rd down, I should say. Who's your secret superstar of who? Here we go. 3, 2, 1. All right, third down. Who's your secret superstar of Super Bowl 58? And that's that like relatively unknown player who could make a pretty significant difference.
Chiefs cornerback L'Jarius Sneed, Kyle. He's not a complete secret, but this guy is one of the NFL's best cornerbacks, and I don't think he gets the recognition he deserves for that. This season, Sneed has 78 tackles, 25 stops, 6 quarterback pressures. He's led 51 catches on 98 targets for 522 yards, 207 yards after the catch, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions, 11 pass breakups, and an opponent pass rating of 62.5. If I'm Steve Spagnuolo, receiver Brandon Ayuk, as you just said, is my biggest worry from a big play perspective in the passing game. Snead can travel to either side of the field to lock down the other team's most explosive guy. He has a downfield speed and step-to-step technique to match and carry the league's best receivers. Ayuk is among them, in my opinion, all the way up the field. He's got a great sense of how to play a little off and bait quarterbacks into making throws they shouldn't make, which is a problem Purdy's had, especially in the playoffs. Even when it looks like they should, and his sense for the ball is quite impressive. Let's not forget his amazing play to force Zay Flowers' fumble just short of the end zone in the Chiefs' win over the Ravens in the AFC Championship game. Steen was about 5 yards away from Flowers when Flowers caught the ball on a short crosser at the Kansas City 7-yard line. He somehow caught up to Flowers to pop the ball out. Chiefs were up 17-7 at the start of the fourth quarter when this happened. Flowers' touchdown there changes the complexion of the game a lot. So he's a plus defender in every way you want a cornerback to be, and he will not be Brock Purdy's best friend on Sunday.
Yeah, it feels like if you're a betting man or a betting person, I should say, L'Jarius Sneed INT is a fun little prop, a fun little wager. You just see like a 3rd and long trying to hit that deep out, and he just baits it. I could definitely see it.
I'll also mention real quick Mike Edwards, the safety, former Buccaneer, great from the box, from the slot, from the deep third. Shamari Connor. They've got so many guys in the secondary that are young, and obviously Trent McDuffie, but I think we kind of know who he is. Their whole secondary is full of secret superstars. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, versatility is super key against the 49ers. So I'm going to stay in the secondary, but on the other side of the football, and I'm going to talk about 49ers rookie safety Jair Brown. And I think he is going to be a player when Andy Reid turns on the film. He is going to circle number 27 and make him a victim of the most diabolical offensive plans that the Chiefs have. So Brown's a good player. 3rd-round pick out of Penn State this year. The 49ers traded up to get him with their first pick. They picked so late this year that whenever they took him, I think 83rd overall. But yeah, he wasn't going to start this year, but he got pushed into a starting role when Talanoa Hufanga went down in week 11 with a torn ACL. Brown missed a couple of games at the end of the year because of a knee injury that robbed him of some crucial in-game experience, and you see it on the field. He's super aggressive. That's why they wanted him. He's a physical tackler. He's always around the ball. He generated a ton of turnovers in college. He's already had a couple as a pro, despite starting for only a short time. Now, that said, those are also some of the reasons that he gets caught making big mistakes. So he gets caught flat-footed in coverage. He'll misfire on play action. He'll be out of position, and his aggressiveness can lead him to overrun and miss tackles. And getting out of position against Reed, Mahomes, and the Chiefs is how bad things happen to a defense. So I think Brown's athleticism and his penchant for creating takeaways make him a crucial piece of what the 49ers are going to do defensively against the Chiefs. He can line up high. He can play down in the box. And I think at his peak, he's going to kind of be able to cover anyone. Now, whether he can do that now, TBD. And I think that's what we're going to find out on Super Bowl Sunday. If Jair Brown has, one of his best games as a pro, I really like the Niners' chances. If he's a player that Reed and the Chiefs can pick on a lot, that could be a real problem for San Francisco. So Jair Brown is a name to watch.
Can I mention their other safety, Tayshaun
Gibson? Yeah, you sure can.
I mean, last 2 seasons, he's been one of the better safeties in the NFL. Numbers say it, tape says it, no one talks about it. Niners fans don't even talk about it. It's like, yeah, he's pretty good. He's great.
He's been a really. It's jarring given some of the athleticism we see at safety now, though. It's jarring to see Tayshaun Gibson running around out there, but man, he just every time they need a big play.
Yeah.
He was the one that forced the fumble against Jahmyr Gibbs in the NFC title game. Just kind of always there, always in the right spot.
I think the best safety in the NFL that nobody talks about, even the fans of his own team, are like, I don't know, that was pretty good. I don't know, he's old.
Yeah. Got onto the team just accidentally. I won't do a whole thing on it, but they got him as a camp body in the last week of the preseason last year, and he won a starting job. So, all right, let's get to 4th down, Doug. It's just Monday, so maybe this will change by the time kickoff comes around 6:30 p.m. Eastern on Sunday. But on Monday afternoon, February 5th, who do you got winning this one?
I think it'll be very close, but I have to go with the Chiefs 27-24. Their offense has finally found its pace in the playoffs after a very weird regular season. And Spags' defense is the primary reason they're here this time around at all. I do believe Pacheco will be the difference maker in this game. He doesn't have to run 25 times for 150 yards to be the guy. If he's able to power through San Francisco's front six, as he's done to other defenses all season long, that can be enough to set the defense on edge, become more static, and give way to Patrick Mahomes and his alien stuff. If it were like situation neutral defenses, I'd probably go with the Niners because the offense still, I don't know. But Spags' defense, and full marks to Steve Wilkes. I wrote a piece a couple days ago about how great he is with coverage switches, like turning two into cover. They play a lot of cover three, turning two high into cover three in the different ways they get there. And I think he can cause trouble for Mahomes. What Spags is doing right now, man, that dude, he is a physicist. He's the professor of all professors. So I think in the end, it'll be that defense that gives the Chiefs just a little edge.
Yeah, the easy answer here for me is the Chiefs. They have a better quarterback, a better head coach. You just mentioned Steve Spagnuolo, and a better defense right now. Like their defense is just playing better than San Francisco's. Whether it's as talented on paper, I'm not totally sure, but they're absolutely playing better right now. And all of those things point towards a Kansas City win. And then you combine that with how much the 49ers have struggled to get stops in the playoffs. And it's really, really hard to draw a realistic path to a San Francisco victory. Now, the 49ers, I think, top to bottom on paper, have a more talented team. And if they can stop the run with any kind of consistency, it dramatically alters the complexion of Sunday's game. But I haven't seen anything the last couple of weeks that makes me think they're going to suddenly be a lockdown run defense. That's been a huge problem for them. Really all season. The reason they've been able to have such good numbers against a run is because they've just kind of pounded offenses into submission via their own offense and getting big leads and forcing teams to be one-dimensional. And if the Chiefs can run the ball, it renders a lot of what their weaknesses are on offense kind of moot. So San Francisco doesn't want to have to play catch up, but that's probably where they're headed if the last two playoff games are informative really in any way. So I've got the Chiefs winning this one 30-23.
Yeah, although Kyle won't necessarily go with the pass. I mean, they were down, 24-7 at the end of the first half in the NFC Championship game. McCaffrey had 10 runs in the first half, 10 runs in the second half. Yeah. They do what they do. So, we'll see.
Yeah, so I like I said, I've waffled here and there, and I keep thinking about it, but I just come back to, like, dude, it's Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, and they have a good defense this time. And that's just kind of where I'm at. So
here's why I think their run defense could suffer, but their pass defense, the book has been for years, if you blitz Mahomes, he will just splatter your defense all over the wall. That has not been true this year. He's been really ordinary. We talked about Purdy being great, but Mahomes this year has been really ordinary, like as many interceptions as touchdowns. So they may send the house after him, which they don't do a lot, but when they do, they're pretty effective with it. And those aggressive blitz looks leave gaps open for the run game. So kind of a pick your poison sort of game.
It'll be really interesting to watch. Really excited for this game. Thanks for previewing it with me, Doug. I can't wait to go over it with you next week. Thanks, everybody, for watching 4 Down Territory. We'll talk to you next time.
Thanks, everyone.